Hello, my name is Vinith, and today we'll be talking about gravity. So gravity has been one of the greatest discovery ever by human race, and today I'm going to tell you a story about this discovery. So Kepler and Newton, these two played very important role in the discovery of gravity. So all of you have heard about the Newton, that how apple fell on his head and then Newton discovered the gravity. But very few of you may heard about the Kepler. Kepler also was a great scientist, and Newton alone did not discover the gravity. Newton had help from his friends, from other scientists, and Kepler was one of them. So the wow fact about the Kepler is recently NASA launches a space telescope which was named after astronomer Johannes Kepler. It happened in March 7, 2009. This is just to let you know that the significance of Kepler in the world of astronomy, right? So before moving further ahead, I'd like to brush up few physics concepts that are circular motion and centripetal force. Okay, so I'd like to conduct this experiment on your own, obviously in a safe environment. I'd like you to get a string and tie one object to one end of string and hold the other end of string in your hand and try rotating like this in a circular motion. Then I'd like to ask this question to yourself, that if are you applying any force on the stone or any object you are tying, in which direction this force is acting, and how will you stop this force from acting, and what will be the effect on the stone or the object, right? So see, as long as you are holding the string, you'll feel that you are pulling this object towards you, that is towards the center of this circle. And as soon as you let go of the string, the object will fly off in a straight line which is tangential to this circular motion. Hence a force acts on any object moving along a circle and it is directed towards the center of the circle. This is called a centripetal force. Okay, I'll repeat it again. So what it means, that if any object is revolving around in a circular motion, right? So let's see, if any object is moving around in a circular motion, there is a force that acts on that object, and that force is directed towards the center of the circle, right? So take this example and match it with the phenomenon of moon rotating around the earth. We all know that moon rotates around the earth in a circular manner, right? So is there any centripetal force kind of force that attract moon towards the center of the earth? So I'd like to answer this question in coming slides. So we'll move to Kepler's law. So scientists in the past, or astronomers, have been observing stars or planetary motions with their naked eyes even before invention of telescope. And Kepler studied this data, and he finds some similarities between these planetary motions, and then he used these three laws to describe this motion. The first law of which was the orbit of a planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of the foci. So here as shown in the figure, the S is sun and A is planet. So what Kepler said, that the planet moves around the sun not in a circular orbit, but it moves around the sun in a elliptical orbit, right? Like shown in the figure. The second law is stated that the line joining the planet and the sun sweeps equal areas in equal interval of time. So this is a little bit difficult to understand, but I'll make sure that you'll understand it properly. So what it says, that the line joining the planet and the sun, so this line joining the planet and the sun and this line joining the planet and the sun, they swept equal areas in equal interval of time. So what it means, that to go from C to D and to go from A to B, it takes equal interval of time. So let's say that equal interval of time to be 1 hour, right? So I just want you to focus on these two scenarios where planets travel from C to D and planets travel from A to B, right? So C to D distance is much less as compared to A to B. So to cover this distance in 1 hour, the planet will travel in a slow speed, right? Because the distance is less, and to go from A to B in 1 hour, the planet will have to travel at a higher speed, right? So watch this figure again and memorize this phenomena that for a while, and I'll tell you one very interesting practical application of this simple logic. See, the planet will travel at a higher speed around the foci, and the planet will travel at a lower speed if it's away from the foci. So it will rotate like this. It will go faster here, and then it will again go at slow speed. It will go again fast, then it will go travel at slow speed. So this phenomenon at right now, this phenomenon is used by scientists all around the world to find black holes in the universe. So this was the first ever image taken of a black hole by the scientists. See, we are talking about gravity, and it's not possible that we don't talk about black holes. And this is a homework for you as well. So I want you to YouTube and Google what is a black hole, and I want you to come up with 2 to 3 points that you find fascinating about black holes. So this was the first ever image taken by a black hole, where a black hole is absorbing its nearby star. So see, it's easy to find black holes when they are in when they're active, like they are observing any star. But in idle situation, when black holes are idle, it's not possible to. It's quite impossible to find them because they are black in color, and with the black background of a sky, it's quite difficult to find them. But here comes the our second law that we studied, that a planet moves at a higher speed around the foci and at a lower speed when it's away from the foci, right? So ahead I'm going to show you a video. So this is actually an image taken over years, and this is time lapse for you. And these small dots you are seeing, these are the stars, and this image is taken from the center of our galaxy Milky Way. And I want you to observe this star, the rotation of this star, how it's moving around this area, right? So I'm going to play this video, watch it carefully. You see, this star moves at a higher speed when it's come near this area, and it again slows down when it comes to this area. This is similar to what we saw with Earth rotating around the sun, because sun has a high gravitational pull for the Earth. So and here there's a black area, you can't see anything, but it has a high gravitational pull that causes the star to move in this manner, right? So that's how scientists conclude that there is a black hole here, right? So it's quite interesting phenomenon, and it's a practical real life example of Kepler's second law, right? Then Kepler came up with the third law, saying the square of its period, it's like planets, the square of its period of revolution around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance of a planet from the sun. Mathematically you can write it as t square, t, that is your period of revolution, t square is directly proportional to the r cube. See, later on Newton uses this law to formulate his famous law of gravitation. So what we learned today, we learn about the centripetal force. See, if any object is moving around a circle, if any object is moving in a circular motion, then there is a force that acts on that object. That force is directed toward the center of the circle, which is nothing called centripetal force, right? Then we match this phenomena with the earth, with the moon rotating around the earth in a circular motion. See, there is no string attached between earth and moon here, but still earth is pulling moon towards it and keeping it in this circular motion. So there must be a force between earth and moon, and that invisible force is called gravitational force. See, gravitational force is also a non-contact type of force. See, actually in nature there are two types of forces. One is contact forces, and other is non-contact forces. See, gravitational force is one of the non-contact type of forces, and there are others as well. And this is a homework for you to find the others non-contact type of forces, right? Then we saw the Kepler laws, the first law in which he said that the planet rotates around the sun in elliptical orbit and not in circular motion, right? Then we saw the very interesting practical example of practical application of this second law, where we use where scientists are using this second law to find black holes in the farthest universe, right? Then we saw the third law, where t square is directly proportional to r cube. Later on, this law, this specific law, led Newton to form his theory of gravitation, which we'll cover in the coming class, right? So this is it for today's class, and in the coming class we will see how Newton specifically used his third law, or how this third law helped Newton to form his theory of universal gravitation, right? So before leaving, I'd like you to watch this video. Here you see the planets rotating around the sun. You all must have seen this somewhere, but this is a very old and poor representation of planetary motion around the sun, right? So this is the actual way the planets rotate around the sun, and the sun in this universe. So this is it class. See you in next lecture.